For years, I dreamed that I would do something to make a real difference in the world. I yearned to find something that would provide me with a deep sense of gratification, passion, and purpose for my life. I was a business owner, but I needed more. In 2009, it came to me. My heart had gotten caught up in the dark and evil world of the child sex slavery, and I wanted to do something about that. It's a dark and dangerous world, and I did not intentionally want to place my life at risk. I began to research volunteer opportunities at girls' schools in India, and when I Googled, I got 17 million results. Imagine, if you can, that when you were born, your parents were disappointed that you were a girl. The birth of a girl in rural India is the time of great sorrow and marks the day that the servant of a household is born. From the beginning, girls are treated differently. They receive no last name, as they will one day receive their husbands. Men and boys eat first, with women and girls receiving what may be left over from an already meager meal for those living in dire poverty. Child marriage is common practice as it relieves the family of the economic burden that their daughters are considered to be. Older men come through the village offering to buy daughters for just a few dollars and sell them into the sex trade. Every 8 minutes in India, a girl becomes a sex slave, sent to a faraway city, never to be heard from again. In 2000, Sam Singh, the first Indian man to be hired by the DuPont Company, founded Pardada Pardati Educational Society. It was his dream to improve the lives of girls and women in his ancestral village, where girls had never gone to school before. After his retirement, Sam returned to the village and met with thousands of villagers who were greatly opposed to his idea of educating girls. What value is there to educating a girl? What purpose is there when her reason in life is to work in the field and the home, and one day get married? Imagine, if you can, the greatest obstacle to educating a girl, her mother, as she must be willing to give up her primary source of labor in order to send her daughter to school. In order for this school to work, Sam had to provide a list of incentives to encourage parents to give up their daughters. Girls would receive 3 meals a day, 2 uniforms, and a pair of shoes, textbooks, transportation, and 10 rupees for daily attendance. If a girl were to marry, she couldn't stay in school, and if she doesn't stay in school, she doesn't get the money, which is hers upon graduation. This has been a great incentive and has helped to reduce child marriage. This is Pardada Pardati Educational Society, a school that's changing the lives of girls and women in rural India. Today, over 1,400 girls attend school, with 4,000 on a waiting list, as every family is recognizing the value to educating their girls. Still, 85% of all girls in the village have yet to receive the opportunity to go to school. When I heard about the work Sam was doing, I decided that I needed to go there. On September 11, 2010, my bags were packed, and I was off to live in one of the poorest regions of the country for the following 6 months. Here is the story of Preeti, one of our first graduates. Preeti graduated from the school, was hired by the school, and quickly became an integral part of school management. When her sister died, her parents insisted she marry the deceased sister's husband and become mother to the children. She refused. She then set forth a list of expectations before her parents. She wouldn't marry until she was 23. The boy she married would have to be from the village so she could continue to work at the school, and that he have a job. She would also have a certain amount of money saved. Today, Preeti is happily a village boy. They live in a job, and her mother-in-law cares for their 2-year-old daughter while she continues to work at school. Preeti saved for a motor scooter prior to her marriage. She's the first woman in the village to drive a motorized scooter, allowing her mobility and freedom. Pardada Pardati is teaching other girls to drive scooters so that they have that same opportunity. When I arrived in the village, I felt like I'd arrived on another planet. There was nothing that could have prepared me for the conditions that exist there. The chaos, the stench, the garbage, and the crowds were overwhelming at times. Yet, I fell in love with the people and the purpose of the school. I quickly got to work, and I started a hygiene project. I learned that most of our girls had never brushed their teeth before or used a bar of soap, and that was something that I knew I could take care of. When I left India after 6 months and returned to the US, I had no plans to ever return there again, as the conditions and challenges were overwhelming at times. Within a few months, the tug at my heart grew stronger than I could have ever imagined, and I knew I needed to return. But I couldn't go back without a project, so I decided that one of the issues that had impacted me the most was the fact that there was no medical care available in this region of 180,000 people. I knew I could do something about it. I set to work. I got donations from friends and family in the US and opened a school health center for 1,400 girls. I returned in 2012 along with donated medical supplies and medicines, hired a school nurse, and the following summer I returned along with 18 US medical volunteers who treated 2,500 villagers in the 110-degree heat. I'd been to the local government hospitals, horrendous at best. I visited local village doctors who were using dirty, rusty tools, unimaginable practices, and not washing their hands. I'd been to every school in the region and found out that our school was the only school to have so much as a first aid kit. Though our school provides free education to the very poorest girls, it far surpasses every school in the region for the quality of education and the conditions that exist there. Last summer, when asked what I could bring on a trip, I was told that the girls needed underpants. Most of our girls had never had a pair of underpants before. I gathered 2,800 pair, and on that next trip, as I went through customs in India, the men stopped me, asked me what was in my boxes, and when I told them I had girls' underpants, they quickly waved me through, as I knew they had no interest in seeing what was inside those boxes. Today, as of today, I've taken over 6,000 pair of undies with me. The school manufactures disposable sanitary pads for our girls, so the undies hold the pads that the girls need. I've had experiences that we will never witness here in the United States. My beautiful Manisha, whose parents were killed, leaving her alone to care for her blind, deaf, and lame grandmother. Her only refuge is school. A first grader killed by a poisonous snake while sweeping her home with no doors or windows. I witnessed the distraught look in a father's eyes when he was told that his 5-year-old son had polio, and there was nothing that could be done about his lame hand and arm. I visited a home of a young girl lay dying alone while her mother was out working in the fields. Sometimes the heartbreak is great, yet I experience immense joy because of the changes that the school is bringing into the lives of our girls. Last summer was the time to make my next dream come true. I wanted to build a medical clinic for the villagers as the demands on the health center were great. I raised the money again here in the US and returned last November with a medical team for groundbreaking. In March, our clinic opened, our health center opened, the most beautiful, cleanest, brightest facility in the entire village, complete with toilets for the villagers. A fact I failed to mention earlier was that before I went to India for the first time, my greatest concern was whether I would have a toilet, sink, and shower. That concern was legitimate because in this region, there are very few toilets, with the exception of the 100 that have been built onto the homes of our girls by the school, as well as 2 community toilets. When I learned that I would have a toilet, sink, and shower, I knew everything was going to be okay. I will return soon again to these people that I've grown to love and care for more deeply than I ever could have imagined. I've been able to achieve so many dreams, and my next dream is to build a pediatric medical clinic that will open in the spring in the school. When I left the US for the first time in 2010, I had no idea what was going to become of my life, nor, more importantly, the lives of my 1,400 daughters living in a small, remote village in rural India. We all have the ability to make a difference in the world. You don't have to go to India to do that, but I ask each of you just to consider what it is that you're doing to make a difference in our world.